Scroll all the way down. Students! Today's active learning strategy is entitled The Time Machine. Are you ready?
Yeah!
Let's do this. Every time I fire up the Teachingrocks Time Machine, I get excited. As these previous video clips demonstrate, the students are also excited, and more importantly, learn vast amounts of information from each performance. The students are more than willing to suspend disbelief if we do our best to accurately role-play literary figures, historical individuals, famous mathematicians and scientists, foreign dignitaries, musicians, athletes, and so much more. In this strategy, I will show a variety of options for creating and operating a Teachingrocks Time Machine in your very own school. Some versions are very simplistic, while others are more sophisticated. This video, as well as the book, offer suggestions, include ideas, provide directions and examples for creating an assortment of time machines. As always, and I can't stress this enough, it should never fall on the shoulders of one person to create a time machine. If not for the help of numerous family members, friends, and colleagues, quite frankly, my time machine would not be what it is today. Again, I would like to be completely honest with the viewer of this video. A large, laser-lit, geometrically pleasing, bulb-blinking, fog-filled Teachingrocks Time Machine is truly wonderful. But without the actors doing the proper research and rehearsal, the time machine is nothing more than a fascinating light show. So when I began time traveling 2 decades ago, I simply strung a set of lights around a door frame. With a smile on my face, I described the amazing time machine located on the other side. Then I said I was going to step inside, and the individual stepping back would be from another time and place. I would ask my students this question before I left. Are your imaginations ready? Here is a time-lapse example of me putting up some lights, and then a few characters stepping forth. Lastly, I'll demonstrate more examples of how to use this technique with a variety of doors, including storage and closet doors, side doors, and even entrance and exit doors.
Hey everybody, I'm so happy to be here right now. My name is Caleb and I love playing football, and I'm ready to share my passion for the game with all of you.
Beyond rope lights, the next step in the creation of a Teachingrocks Time Machine is to sketch a design. Here I am with my friend and technology education instructor extraordinaire, Dirk Kermitz. Dirk will demonstrate how to sketch a Teachingrocks Time Machine facade that can be created from 1 or 2 large pieces of plywood and some basic hinges. Once built, this version of a Teachingrocks Time Machine can easily be assembled and disassembled in less than an hour, allowing it to be moved to another room or stored away until it is used again. As you watch this segment, please consider the students in a high school or college carpentry or woodworking program, spouse, relative, neighbor, friend, or other individual that may assist you in the sketch and actual construction of a Teachingrocks Time Machine. Please note, this particular sketch is in the book and certainly may be altered to fit the parameters of your room. I love it. Everything comes from a conversation. Find someone that you respect that certainly has some skills in the area of sketching and then creating. And I guess that's what brings us to this point right now. As I said, I went online, I got some basic examples of some fun facades that could go in front of a door. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about that and then see whether or not you can sketch something for us.
I think we can sketch something out. I have no doubt. I already have a couple ideas floating around in my head. And we need to take several situations into consideration. If there is a second door, say to a storeroom or possibly an office within the classroom, it obviously could go over that door.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to worry about moving it. But since, everybody's situation is different, I could probably work on a sketch that would maybe fit both scenarios.
Awesome.
Another situation would be the direction of the door. If it's a door that comes into the room, the door is going to open out by code. If it's a door for, an office or a storeroom, that could be a situation where the door might go both ways. So if the door does not open into the room where the students are, this facade can be very shallow.
Right.
The only downside with it being shallow is you need to be able to attach it some way, because if it's shallow, it has the potential for falling over. So if the door opens into the room, now it has to be deep enough to hide the opening door inside of itself, but it also gives the depth. It doesn't have the risk of falling over. So those are some of the scenarios that a person would have to consider when looking into this.
And that's another excellent point. So when I sit down with someone that has your skill set, those are just some things to keep in mind. And I plan on taking some pictures of what it is you're sketching today. The individual that's going to help construct this in a classroom can use those as a starting point. And then if the door swings that different way that you're describing, if it needs to be bigger or smaller, then they can just make adjustments from your sketch.
Just make it deeper.
Okay.
So, if the door swings into the room, typically doors in schools are 36 inches. So the depth of this facade would have to be greater than 36 inches. So the door could open up and stay open. So now when you go into the facade, you have the door that the kids will see you stepping out of. If the door swings out of the space, the facade can be shorter. It doesn't have to be as deep, because the door doesn't have to open into itself.
Right.
It's opening the other direction. And so it can be shorter. But if you shorten it up, you don't want it to get, tipped over.
Right.
So you would have to find a simple way. And a simple way to attach it to the wall could be something as simple as a screen door hook. Dial up a hook with a hook on it at the top, maybe on both sides. Now it's anchored to the wall. It's not at risk of falling over. And when you put it away, you undo the screen door hook, you leave the eyelets in place. They're there when you go to put it back up again.
Nice. And you've already given me a bunch of new ideas, and I guess that's the point. You sit down with your colleagues, you have a conversation, as you said, and before you know it, you're blessed with many ideas. And then it's just a matter of picking the best ones and then constructing the Teachingrocks Time Machine.
Yep. And through the whole discussion, just keep safety in mind. We're talking about a relatively simple, concept, but it's going to be as tall as a door. Tipping it over would not be a safe situation.
Right.
So, as you go through whatever you create, and if all of the little things that you might want to put on it are all mechanical, like a hand crank that you could spin, that in itself is safe, but if you introduce electrical motors, that's something different. So you have to take those things into consideration.
Absolutely. Safety, safety, safety.
Absolutely. Especially if kids are going to be interacting with it. If, I could see where, and I'm sure you've talked about this, but the student is the character.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that they're safe. It's not just the teacher that's coming out, but a student is doing a character and they're coming out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
stay good with time, with in a Columbus sale.
1492.
I'm trying to get the idea that this is a blackboard.
Mm-hmm.
You erase it, put whatever time you want on it.
Right.
You know.
How about 1776, birth of America? Columbus is too controversial.
So the idea is that that can change.
Yep.
You following that?
Yeah.
This is the top of the door right here as it kind of goes through. And here's the door. And the door would go down like this to the floor. The door would come down here. So that's the door behind all of this. And what we basically have is we have the clouds, the cloud piece that covers up the top of it. And this can just be a free shape that you kind of just go around and cut out a cloud. And then you cut this angle into the cloud. So this would be kind of cut out. So this would be one piece right here, all the way around. And you could have Time Machine, you know, someone with a little bit of artistic ability could do some neat letters, and you could have Time Machine coming over the top of it. It has two sides, and one side is right here. So you'd have this side, and then the other side is right here. They're the same side. Let's say it's, you know, 4 feet tall or whatever you want it to be, but these are the two sides. They go on there. And then you would have the face of it. And the face of it would basically be, you know, across this way. And this would be cut out of a solid, you know, piece of plywood. So you have this shape right here. So this is the face of it. And then out of the face, you cut the door. So once you get that, you drill just a small little hole, and you basically cut out a shape, you know, around along this line. And just make sure that this side is straight, because you're going to put a hinge on there, a pair of hinges, one there and one there, so the door can open. And add a handle. So that all comes out of the same piece along that line. And then we have the roof. And the roof basically is two pieces that come up to the point. One here, and then one going down the other side, going back down this side. And so those are the pieces. And then all you do is you put the pieces together utilizing the hinge that we talked about. And you place a hinge, half of the hinge here, another half of the hinge here, one half here. There obviously would be one on this side that would be attached to this side. And then you could put a hinge on the front, one on this side, between the roof, and you could put a hinge across the peak, and then you could put a hinge here, holding the cloud on, and the cloud kind of hides the window, and you put two hinges on the other side. And so this thing all comes apart, and it would basically end up laying flat by pulling out all of the pins. You would have the cloud, the two pieces for the roof, the two pieces for the sidewall, and the piece for the door. The door would stay attached, and the 2 pieces for the door. And it could sit flat in a closet, and basically the widest piece would be the width sticking a little bit beyond the door. This doesn't have to be as tall as the door. You could keep this a little bit shorter because this kind of covers up the door. And what's really cool about this is this could be slid over into the corner and could be left in place where the kids would be able to see it. You have your very own time machine.
It's truly wonderful. And if I were to take this video or the pictures in the book and sit down with someone who had some basic carpentry skills, we could make this come to fruition within the classroom.
Absolutely. And this, we're looking at, depending on how you do this, this could be a sheet of plywood, maybe a sheet and a half of plywood. And 3/4 of an inch thick would make it a little bit stronger, but it also make it heavy. But if someone had the talent, this could be made with something that's a 1/2 inch thick. So there's not a great deal of cost in this. You buy instead of buying full-size door hinges, you get the smaller ones. This is simply comes in a pair, comes with the screws, with the pin. You'll be able to pop them out, take it apart. Or if you're putting it in the corner of the room, you don't have to worry about taking it apart. You just slide it over to the corner. So yeah, this is something I think quite simply could be put together, and a little bit of color to make it exciting, and could set it in the corner of the room. And if you wanted to put a little bit more interest in it, besides making a lot of different colors, you could bring in a string of Christmas lights, and you could run a string of Christmas lights up and over and down, and now you got a little bit of a lighting effect to it. You could, in the cloud, if you wanted to, you could drill a series of holes in the cloud, and you could just stick a Christmas light up through each hole, and on the back of this tape the wires, and have, so you just have little Christmas lights sticking through, and you just plug it into a wall outlet. Again, this is very safe. You're not cutting any wires or doing anything along that line. You're just putting a little bit extra into it to make it look really nice.
So as they often say, you're only limited by your own imagination. And this whole project is about people working together, students and teachers. And I bet you if you open this up to your class and said, what ideas do you have to make the facade or the front of the time machine more interesting? I bet you the students would have numerous ideas.
I'm sure they would. And you just then need to figure out how to put those ideas into play.
And Dirk, what keeps the time machine fastened to the wall?
Because this one's short, the door swings away from it. It's only probably 10 to 12 inches wide. Put a little hook attached to the time machine that hooks into the wall, and do it on both sides. Put the hook on the inside so it can't be seen. Then a little hook on both sides, go to the wall, keeping it from falling forward. So this whole idea of this particular time machine face basically grew out of this top drawing, and to show just kind of how simple it is, and the fact that it's not overly complicated. All we're dealing with is basically 7 pieces, and here are the 7 pieces. You have the front, and from the piece of plywood that the front is cut out of, the door comes out of the center. So whatever shape your door is, that piece is going to go back in as the door. You have one side here, another side here. The roof piece goes across the top, and then the cloud that makes up the time machine, and those are the generic shapes, and that is how that is all going to go together.
Simple enough.
That's it.
For durability, you certainly could construct a Teachingrocks Time Machine as previously drawn by Mr. Kermitz out of wood. However, you might also use a basic refrigerator box. Here my friend John Rost and I will demonstrate the ease of creating this version. Everything you are about to see, we did in less than 5 hours. Constructing a time machine out of cardboard is truly wonderful because of the endless options that are available to you. For instance, the box will easily slide into any door frame. Colored butcher paper can be used to decorate it or simply paint it. Put a variety of lights on it. Or none at all. Add a few basic props such as letters, numbers, stars, and even this little clock, all for $1 or $2 from a discount store. Music can also be played from inside the time machine using a CD player. And on that note, I would like the viewer to know I was going to explain the step-by-step process of making a cardboard time machine by saying such things as Step 1. Have a conversation with a friend about the designs found in the book. Step 2. Go to a local appliance shop and ask for a refrigerator box. Next, remove the braces that prevent the refrigerator from being dented and spray paint them yellow. And then I decided to adhere to the old adage, if the art speaks for itself, don't interpret. So with only a little background music, Mr. Rost and I will now show the process of building your very own cardboard Teachingrocks Time Machine. Yours may be different in terms of color and decorations, but the ease of its construction will be very much the same. Dan Kraus and Cody Risso are two gifted architects that graciously provided another set of step-by-step directions for building a Teachingrocks Time Machine. These plans are also located within the book. They are quite simple to follow and even utilize an average-sized door, which can be purchased at most hardware stores. My good friend Tim Kippenhahn, the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of the Myron Construction Company, believes it is fairly easy to construct a time machine. I'll let my friend Tim explain how, with the step-by-step directions located in the book, and with the assistance of a few friends, you too can have a laser-lit, geometrically pleasing, bulb-blinking Teachingrocks time machine of your very own.
The truth is, Troy, with our step-by-step directions in the book, and with the help of a few friends, especially someone that knows some basic carpentry skills, you can probably put this together in a few days with minimal cost.
Google Sketchup is a free program enabling the designer to create 3D models of homes, buildings, video games, and yes, even Teachingrocks time machines. The program is very easy to learn, and blueprints can be designed to fit the parameters of your room and then quickly printed. In the next video clip, my friend Dirk will demonstrate how to use Google Sketchup. Finally, I'll show additional blueprints and a variety of structures, such as a basic storage shed and playhouse that, once decorated with a few lights, could easily become a Teachingrocks time machine. So this program is known as
Google Sketchup, and it is part of the Google suite of programs out there. It's freeware. There's no cost to using it. Allows you to animate and create anything in your mind three-dimensionally. Simply create a surface, and you can extrude that surface to whatever you'd like. You can put a door in the center, push that door in. You can put a roof on it, an angled roof, and push that back, push it completely off. It has models online. Matter of fact, these ceiling tiles are, I didn't draw them. I grabbed them off of the model warehouse, where a lot of this stuff, where you can go online and pick up little features that go along with this. It's pretty simple to use. Allows you to create anything that you would like.
Please note, a facade could be as basic as the front of a storage shed purchased from a hardware store, shown here. Again, no need to construct the entire unit, the frontal portion is enough, or even a child's large playhouse. Once you have constructed a Teachingrocks time machine facade or something a little larger, it's time to decorate it. Decorations can be mechanical and/or electrical. Let me take this basic shed, put up a string of holiday lights, and then add a few more spinning, blinking, and flashing objects through the wonderful and magical world of editing. Please make sure everything is secured tightly. Safety is key. Well, here we go. Time to lift the yellow light up and attach it. This should be fun. So Dirk, my friend, you are a tech ed teacher extraordinaire, and you have constructed a small control panel. I'd like you to explain basically what we're looking at, please.
Well, basically what we're doing is we're just taking a 12 gauge extension cord, and on the other end of this is plugged in to a wall after the circuit is built, but that's power in. We're going into an outlet just an ordinary duplex that you would have in a home. We're using metal boxes, more durability, so it's really important that this be grounded. And then what we're doing is we're taking another cord that goes into a 4x4 box, and we're coming out of that. And basically what I did is took another extension cord, kept this end of it, that's going to get plugged into here, and then I took pieces of wire coming from here, and so this is tied into 5 switches. And then out of each switch, we come out the back side, and this one's going into an outlet. This one's going into an outlet, and these 3 are going into simply a porcelain fixture where you can screw in a couple bulbs. Big thing, it needs to be grounded. Dealing with metal boxes, everything needs to be wired properly.
And that's a good point. How important is it to have this wired by a professional?
If you don't understand electricity, you have no business wiring this up. You definitely want to have somebody that understands the relationship of electricity and understands properly how to wire up a circuit to have this done.
I would suggest a certified electrician.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's throw the first switch here, and it says blue disc.
And so we have a blue disc here, which, you know, great effects. Nice little visual effect here. You probably consider this a little bit more elaborate,
Right.
Where we certainly can do something that's much simpler than the disc. We could simply use a flood lamp that's got a colored gel on the top of it.
Right. And the person operating the control panel could
Oscillate the switch, get that blinking effect, simply by flipping the switch back and forth. Works great here with a compact fluorescent. There's a little bit of a delay chart time, so if I flip this on, you'll see it takes a second for it to come up. Once it is juiced up, you know, if you're back and forth, you know, you still get that same effect, but that initial one probably is a little bit slow. And they make these in all kinds of different colors. Here's orange and a blue one. I've seen green, red, purple, quite a variety of colors.
Nice. And speaking of elaborate, you could also purchase a laser. Now, while it's not real big, it certainly has a very interesting effect. I'm going to turn these off.
I think for a small device like that, I think it has a you know, just unbelievable array of colors and how it dances. And I was amazed at just how much that spreads out and hits every surface in the room.
Right. You could mount that on the ceiling and have it face towards the time machine.
Yep. A great effect, and I bet you they produce these in, you know, a lot of different color sequences and movements. I would assume this is obviously, not assume, it's definitely more expensive than some bulbs,
Right.
but a great effect too.
Awesome. And I have here a sheet of paper that's got a variety of different names. So the person operating the control panel, for instance, it says orange spiral. And so it's just a simple matter of cutting that out, because you want to know what the switches operate when you're on the inside of the time machine.
You won't see the lights, that's for certain.
And then I would simply take that and tape it to the top of that switch, and voila!
Yeah, you definitely want to have all your switches labeled so you know what you're turning on and turning off.
Nice. I am with my friend Steve Thompson. And Steve, if you don't mind, would you please tell us a little bit about your background, your professional training and schooling, and then speak to the importance of treating electricity with respect.
Sure, Troy, I'd be glad to. My name is Steve Thompson. I'm a senior electrical engineer. Actually, I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Wisconsin. I have a bachelor's of electrical engineering from Purdue University and have been actively working in the industry for over 30 years now. And as you alluded to, electricity is a fantastic item. It can control all of the lights, etc. You can do wonderful things, really enhance your project by using electricity and electrical controls. However, electricity can also be dangerous. It has to be properly installed. And I want to stress that the installation, the wiring, etc. needs to be done by a professional. In this case, we're talking about a master electrician. So make sure that all of the installation is done properly. That way, it'll be safe. It'll be safe for not only you, but for all of your students, and that it's very important that all the work is done by a master electrician.
Where can I purchase some amazing lights? As always, you have many choices. My friend Cliff from the Guitar Center and Adam from Bulbs Plus will explain some of your options. Cliff, can teachers come into the Guitar Center and find a variety of different lights?
Definitely, Troy. We carry just about every type of light imaginable. Wash lights, effects lights, laser effects, fog machines. Just come on out of the store. We'll be glad to help you out.
Adam, would they be able to get an assortment of lights here within your store?
Absolutely. We got everything from small floods to big floods. We got everything from the incandescent light bulbs all the way up to the compact fluorescence, red, yellow, green, blue, black light. I even got pink.
Thank you, Adam. For inspiration, I like to drive around and view Christmas displays. These particular LED lights have a wonderful effect in both a large and smaller version. Then it's just a matter of finding a place to purchase them. Of course, please bear in mind lights are generally 50% off after the holidays. Now, depending on the number of lights you have, your control panel, built in conjunction with a certified or master electrician, can be as small as a few switches, or a few more, or as elaborate as you would like, depending upon your situation. When it comes time to light up the Teachingrocks Time Machine, I begin by turning off the classroom lights, and then I start flipping switches. On, off, one at a time. And after that, I turn on every switch at the same time. Because I do not have a smoke detector within my room, I am also able to operate a fogger. As my costumes and productions become more involved, I may have a colleague or friend operate the control panel, so I can concentrate on my costume, providing final instructions for the other actors, or simply thinking about the overall performance. Please note, days before I fire up my time machine, I make sure to ask my students if they have any concerns related to visual photosensitivity, seizures, or other medical issues that are worrisome. I also talk to our school nurse, check records, and I may even sit with specific students after school. Turn on the lights and see if the time machine has any adverse effects on them. If you have any concerns, these students can be in the next room as the machine runs, and once the characters begin their performance, the students can be brought into the room. At the end of the show, the students leave before the machine is lit up again. Having another teacher in the room monitoring is also very helpful. Finally, as a professional, you will have to use your best judgment as to whether or not the risk of a seizure is worth the benefit of an intense light show. Less is more. As stated previously, lights are truly wonderful, but what has the greatest impact on student learning is the performance of the characters. If you are concerned, please don't use lasers, blinking bulbs, or flashing lights. Music is also very important, and it plays through my stereo as the lights are turned on. I have speakers mounted in my room, and I usually turn the volume up a bit. I have included a CD with the package entitled Teachingrocks Time Machine Music by Riley Jacob. Riley's a past student and generated some fun techno music. However, you may enlist your students to generate some music or use your favorite songs, which may be a little old school or new school, pop songs, electronic, futuristic. Use whatever you feel is appropriate in whatever format you prefer, such as MP3 players, flash drives, or CDs. How about using your television monitor to help your students learn some specific information? You could use the TV in the corner of your room or, as shown here, hang one on top of your Teachingrocks Time Machine. Either way, it allows you to do the following. The beauty of a time machine is I don't have to simply go back to one particular time. I can take my camera along and I can show you a few stops along the way. And maybe I'll play those up on the television and you can watch it as I go. How's that sound? Then, when I take a vacation to the Corn Palace in South Dakota, my students will view it on the monitor. Of course, on vacation, I wear my Time Traveler t-shirt and a pair of black pants, and I shoot some video. I could also climb a mountain, hang with a buffalo in Yellowstone, or even tour Mount Rushmore. Next, I play the video from a laptop or DVD player. Imagine using clips to support your performance. Literary teachers may take a tour of Mark Twain's boyhood home. A science instructor might use footage of the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Or it might just be random, exciting clips that are fun to watch. It will allow you to take your students on a virtual field trip. And as always, the possibilities are truly endless. And remember to enlist the help of your students in the creation of your very own Time Traveler t-shirt. Like your television monitor, use an LED scrolling sign in a similar way to reinforce certain concepts. Students may sit on benches, chairs, in their desks, or whatever you prefer depending on the number of students you have, and especially if you invite in other classes to be a part of the experience. Please have a teacher or two in your room, monitoring the students, keeping everyone safe as you open the door and operate your Teachingrocks Time Machine. As educators, we are constantly trying to open doors for our students, hoping, with a little encouragement, they will walk right on through. However, our students will also encounter many closed doors in their lives, to which I'm reminded of what Charles Dickens said, "A very little key will open a very heavy door." I love this quote, and it truly gives me a sense of peace. As educators, we ignite the passion for learning that provide our students, even in the smallest degree, with the confidence, ability, talent, or knowledge to open the heaviest of doors. We may not have opened the door directly, but what our gentle guidance provided was, at the very least, a little key.